The fluorescent lights of the grocery store buzzed softly above, casting a pale glow over aisles that smelled faintly of bread, detergent, and exhaustion. It was almost 10 p.m., and most shoppers had already hurried home. But one woman stood at the counter, her hands trembling as she counted out a small pile of crumpled bills. Her eyes darted from the groceries in her paper bag to the total glowing on the register screen. $42.87. She swallowed hard, her lips quivering as if each number on that screen had the power to break her. If you believe in kindness, in small miracles, in the power of one good heart changing another's life, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. These stories keep hope alive for those who need it most. Her name was Emily Carter, and this was not how she had imagined her life at 32. Once, she'd had everything that looked like success. A stable job as a nurse, a cozy apartment, laughter that filled her evenings. But a year ago, a car accident had rewritten her story in cruel ink. She had been driving home late after a night shift when a drunk driver ran a red light. Emily survived, but not without a shattered leg, months of painful recovery, and the loss of her job when she couldn't return on time. Hospital bills mounted like a mountain she couldn't climb. Her savings evaporated faster than she could blink. By the time she healed enough to walk again, her landlord had already posted an eviction notice on her door. Now she lived in a small room at the edge of town, working part-time at a laundromat and picking up shifts cleaning offices. Every dollar she earned had a destination: rent, utilities, her old car's gas tank, and food for her 5-year-old daughter, Lily. She never let Lily see her cry. But tonight, standing at the grocery checkout with a loaf of bread, a half-gallon of milk, some canned vegetables and baby formula, she felt the weight of every failure pressing against her chest. Emily's hands trembled as she unfolded each bill, counting softly under her breath. 1, 2, 3. The numbers tangled in her mind, lost beneath the buzz of anxiety. Behind the counter stood Jake Turner, the night cashier. He was 24, new to town, and working double shifts to pay off his student loans. He had noticed Emily before. She came in often, always late, always quiet, always buying just enough to survive. There was something in her eyes that lingered after she left, something between dignity and despair. Tonight, Jake saw that something again. Her face was pale, her lip bitten raw, her eyes glistening as she hesitated. She was $7.42 short. She looked at the small pack of formula on the counter, the most expensive thing in her bag, and reached for it slowly, as though removing it might make her heart ache less. He could see the battle happening inside her, the shame, the exhaustion, the desperate love of a mother trying to do right by her child. And then, before she could speak, Jake did something simple, quiet, and utterly human. He pressed a button on the register, slipped a $10 bill from his own wallet, and completed the transaction. When Emily looked up, confused, Jake smiled gently and said, "You're all set. Have a good night." For a moment she just stared at him. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her throat felt too tight for gratitude, her eyes too full for tears. She managed a whisper, a fragile thank you, before walking out, clutching her paper bag as though it contained not groceries, but hope. Jake watched her leave, wondering what storms she was facing beyond the store doors. He didn't tell anyone what he did. He didn't even think of it as a big thing. But for Emily, it was everything. She sat in her car for a long time, staring at the fogged windshield, her hands trembling again, not from fear this time, but from the overwhelming kindness she had just witnessed. The formula sitting beside her meant Lily would have breakfast. Tomorrow. It meant she could sleep without guilt gnawing at her. It meant that someone still saw her as worthy of help. The next morning, Emily woke up early, made Lily pancakes, a luxury they hadn't had in weeks, and watched her daughter giggle as syrup dripped down her chin. That sound, pure and bright, healed something inside Emily. She decided that day she would not give up, no matter how hard things got. Weeks passed. Emily picked up more cleaning jobs, sometimes working 16 hours straight. Her body ached constantly, but her determination grew stronger. Every night she thought of the cashier, The stranger who had seen her, really seen her, and reached out without judgment. She wanted to thank him properly, but she didn't know how. Then one rainy evening, about 2 months later, she walked into the same store again. Jake was still there, scanning items, his sleeves rolled up, tired but cheerful. Emily waited in line, holding a small brown envelope. When it was her turn, she placed a few groceries on the counter and smiled softly. "I think you might have made a mistake last time," she said quietly. "You gave me too much kindness." Inside the envelope were 2 $10 bills and a handwritten note that simply said, "Thank you for reminding me that there's still goodness left in this world." Jake's throat tightened. He tried to protest, but she shook her head. "Please," she said, "you helped me when I couldn't help myself. Let me return the favor, even just a little." He took the envelope with a quiet nod, and for a long moment neither spoke. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the connection, the invisible thread that tied 2 weary souls together through one simple act of compassion. That night, Jake went home and couldn't stop thinking about her words. He thought about how many people walked through that store every day, fighting silent battles no one could see. It made him wonder how many of them just needed one person to be kind, even once, to believe the world wasn't against them. Months rolled into seasons. Emily's life began to shift in small, almost imperceptible ways. She applied for a position as a home care nurse, part-time at first. When she got the job, she cried in the break room, clutching the acceptance letter like it was a lifeline. Slowly, stability returned. She moved into a modest apartment, saved a little each month, and even bought Lily a used bicycle for her 6th birthday. And though time moved forward, Emily never forgot that night at the grocery store. She started her own quiet mission. Whenever she saw someone struggling, she helped. Sometimes it was a stranger short on bus fare, sometimes a neighbor whose fridge had gone empty. Every time she remembered Jake's face and the warmth in his voice when he said, "You're all set." 3 years later, life came full circle. Jake had left the grocery store and become a paramedic. It was a cold winter evening when his team responded to an emergency call, a woman who had slipped on ice and fractured her leg outside a daycare. When Jake knelt beside her to check her vitals, recognition flickered. It was Emily. She recognized him too through the haze of pain and disbelief. "You," she whispered with a weak smile, "looks like you're still helping people." Jake chuckled softly. "Guess it's kind of a habit now." At the hospital later, as he wheeled her into the recovery ward, she looked up at him and said, "Do you know what you did that night? You didn't just pay for groceries. You paid for hope. You gave me the strength to start again." Jake didn't know what to say. He just nodded, because sometimes words aren't enough for moments like that. That evening, as snow began to fall outside, Jake sat in his car, staring at the glowing lights of the hospital. He thought about how one act of kindness, one small quiet choice, had rippled through time, shaping 2 lives and perhaps more. Maybe that's how the world changes, he thought. Not through grand gestures, but through simple, human compassion. Emily recovered quickly this time, and when she was discharged, she visited the grocery store again, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to remember. She stood for a moment near the checkout, watching another tired young mother pay for groceries, and smiled. She didn't interrupt or step forward, but in her heart she whispered a prayer for her, because she knew someday someone would do the same for her too. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that kindness still matters, even in the smallest of ways, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps more people hear stories that remind us what truly connects us all. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's the kindest thing someone has ever done for you, or that you've done for someone else? Share it below. Your story might inspire someone who needs it today. The night Emily's hands trembled at that counter, she thought she was breaking, but in truth, something else was happening. She was being seen, healed, and given a second chance. Not by fate or fortune, but by the quiet courage of one compassionate heart. Because sometimes the world doesn't change in loud, dramatic ways. Sometimes it changes in silence, when a cashier quietly pays the rest.